The moment it happened, there was no warning, no choice, and no time to understand what was being taken from him. Evan Hale was standing on a maintenance platform above Earth's orbit, finishing a routine diagnostic on a civilian relay satellite. It was quiet work. Honest work. The kind that kept the galaxy connected but never earned headlines. He liked it that way. His suit's display showed green across every system, and he was already thinking about the warm meal waiting for him back on the station. Then space folded. It did not tear or explode. It bent, like light through water. 1 second, Evan was reaching for a tool, and the next, the stars vanished. His body froze as gravity shifted, his stomach twisting as if reality itself had taken a sharp turn. Alarms screamed inside his helmet, then went dead. When his vision cleared, he was no longer in space. He stood on smooth black stone that reflected light like glass. The air was warm and heavy, filled with a faint metallic scent. Above him rose a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow, lit by floating bands of blue-white energy. Tall figures lined the edges of the hall, watching him in complete silence. Evan's heart hammered. He reached for his comm. Nothing. No signal. No response. His suit was still intact, but every external connection was gone. He took a slow breath. Panic would not help. Panic never did. The figures were not human. They were taller, broader, their skin pale silver or deep obsidian, marked with faint glowing lines that shifted as they moved. Their eyes reflected light like polished crystal. They wore armor that looked grown rather than built, layered and elegant. At the far end of the chamber, on a raised platform, stood a throne, and on it sat a woman who made the rest of them seem like shadows. She was humanoid in shape, but her presence pressed down on the room like gravity. Her hair flowed like liquid night, held in place by a crown of living light. Her eyes were gold, ancient and sharp, and when they settled on Evan, the room seemed to inhale. A voice echoed through the hall, calm and powerful. "The bond is complete." Evan swallowed. "I think there's been a mistake," he said, his voice steady despite the fear crawling up his spine. "I'm a civilian contractor. I don't know how I got here." The woman rose from the throne. Every movement was smooth, controlled, as if the universe itself adjusted to make space for her. "There is no mistake," she said. "You were chosen." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some of the alien figures shifted, their glowing markings pulsing faster. Evan frowned. "Chosen for what?" She stepped closer, descending the platform. Each step echoed softly. When she stopped, she was only a few meters away. "To be my husband." The word hit him harder than any physical blow. The chamber erupted in noise. Voices overlapped, sharp and emotional. But none of them were human. Evan's mind raced, struggling to process what he had just heard. "Husband?" he repeated. "You kidnapped me to marry me?" "I summoned you," the woman corrected, "as is my right." Evan shook his head slowly. "I don't even know who you are." "I am Empress Valeth of the Aurelian Concord," she said. "Ruler of 12,000 systems. Guardian of the living star roots. And now, your wife." That last word made his chest tighten. "I didn't agree to this," Evan said. "Where I come from, marriage is a choice." Valeth studied him closely. Her gaze was intense, but not cruel. "Curious. Perhaps. Measuring. Among my people," she said. "The bond is survival. The Concord stands on the edge of collapse. Our enemies close in. The ancient systems that protect us are failing." She gestured, and a projection of the galaxy appeared between them. Entire regions flickered red, roots collapsing, stars dimming. "The throne requires a stabilizing counterpart," she continued. "A mind outside our patterns. A species untouched by our genetic cycles. Humanity qualifies." Evan stared at the projection. "So you picked me because I was convenient?" "You were chosen because you survived the resonance scan," Valeth replied. "Millions did not." That made his stomach drop. "I don't want to be part of this," Evan said quietly. "Send me home." The murmurs grew louder. A tall alien with deep blue markings stepped forward. his voice sharp. Empress. This human does not understand the honor. Valeth raised one hand. Silence fell instantly. He understands more than you think, she said. She turned back to Evan. You believe power is taken by force, she said. You are wrong. True power is balance, and balance demands sacrifice. Evan met her gaze. Fear was still there, but something else was rising beneath it. Anger. Determination. You don't get to decide my life for me, he said. Not you. Not anyone. A ripple of surprise passed through the court. Some of the aliens looked shocked. Others looked intrigued. Valeth's lips curved slightly. Not a smile. Something sharper. Good, she said. If you were weak, the bond would fail. Before Evan could respond, the floor beneath him lit up. Symbols flared around his boots, ancient and complex. His suit's systems went wild, readings spiking beyond anything he understood. What are you doing? He demanded. Completing what has already begun, Valeth said. The bond does not ask permission. It reveals truth. Pain lanced through his chest, not physical, but deeper. Memories surfaced. Flashes of his life on Earth. Long shifts. Quiet determination. Humanity's stubborn refusal to give up, even when outmatched. The chamber shook. Energy surged between Evan and the Empress, forming a visible thread of light. The air vibrated. Several nobles staggered back, shielding their eyes. Valeth stiffened. Her breath caught. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. The resonance. It's stronger than predicted, she whispered. Evan dropped to one knee, gasping, but he did not break. He clenched his fists and forced himself upright, staring straight at her. What did you just connect me to? He asked. Valeth looked at him not as a ruler now, but as someone seeing the unknown. To the throne, she said. To the Concord. And to you? Evan pressed. Her voice was quiet when she answered. Yes. The energy faded, leaving the hall eerily still. Evan stood there, breathing hard. Every nerve on fire, yet strangely clear. He felt it then. Not control. Awareness. The vastness of the Concord, brushing against his mind, like a distant storm. The aliens stared at him in stunned silence. Valeth slowly straightened, her golden eyes bright with something dangerously close to awe. The bond has accepted you, she said. There is no return now. Evan looked around the alien court, at the galaxy hanging in fragile balance, at the Empress who had claimed him without consent. Then he spoke, his voice calm, human, unyielding. If I'm stuck here, he said, then things are going to change. And for the first time in centuries, the throne of the Aurelian Concord trembled. The days that followed were not measured by time, because time itself felt different inside the heart of the Aurelian Concord. Evan Hale stood at the edge of a wide balcony carved from living crystal, looking out over a city that stretched across an entire artificial world. Towers rose like frozen waves, glowing softly with internal light. Ships moved through the air in quiet streams, guided by invisible paths. It was beautiful in a way that felt unreal, like a dream designed by a mind that did not think the way humans did. Yet Evan felt no peace. He wore simple, dark clothing now, not his spacesuit. The fabric adjusted to his body temperature and movement, but it felt like another reminder that he no longer belonged where he came from. Guards stood at a respectful distance behind him. They watched him carefully, not with hatred, but with uncertainty. He was the Empress's husband. The word still felt wrong. Behind him, the air shifted. Evan sensed her presence before he heard her steps. That was new. Since the bond, there were moments when he could feel things he should not. Changes in energy, distant emotions, the quiet hum of massive systems far beyond his sight. Valeth stopped beside him, her posture straight, her expression controlled. You did not sleep, she said. Evan did not look at her. Neither did you. She paused, surprised. You felt that? I didn't try to, Evan replied. It just happens. Valeth folded her hands behind her back and looked out at the city. The bond is still stabilizing. You are touching systems that even my kind struggles to understand. That's comforting, Evan said dryly. She glanced at him. You are afraid. I was abducted, married without consent, and tied into a dying galactic empire, Evan said. Fear seems reasonable. A faint shift crossed her face. Something like regret, quickly hidden. You see this as cruelty, Valeth said. But without the bond, millions will die. Evan finally turned to face her. And if the bond kills me, then the Concord falls, she answered honestly. And so do we. Silence stretched between them. Evan exhaled slowly. You should have asked. Valeth met his gaze. If I had, you would have said no. Yes, Evan said, but at least it would have been my choice. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she inclined her head slightly. It was not an apology, but it was something close. Human ethics are difficult, she said. But your resistance is noted. That made him snort. Glad to hear it. Before either of them could speak again, the city lights flickered. Just once. Brief, almost invisible, but Evan felt it like a punch to the chest. He staggered back, grabbing the balcony rail. What was that? He demanded. Valeth's eyes narrowed. A star root destabilization. Another tremor rippled through the air. Far below, warning lights bloomed across the city. Already? Evan said. They are accelerating, Valeth replied. Faster than predicted. She turned and moved quickly, her long stride forcing Evan to jog to keep up as they entered the palace interior. The halls were wide and tall, built for beings larger than humans. Yet Evan did not feel small. If anything, the bond made him feel anchored, as if something vast was holding him upright. They entered a command chamber filled with floating displays and alien operators. Voices overlapped, tense and sharp. The outer node is collapsing. The stabilizers are failing. The enemy fleet is probing the border. Valeth raised her hand. Silence fell. Bring the human, one of the nobles said, his tone tight. If the bond is real, prove it. Evan stiffened. I'm not a machine. No, Valeth said firmly. He is not. She turned to Evan. But I need you to try. Try what? Evan asked. She gestured, and the chamber shifted. The floor beneath Evan lit up again, though softer than before. A projection of the failing star root appeared in front of him. It looked like a torn thread of light, fraying at the edges. This root feeds energy to 7 systems, Valeth said. Our methods no longer hold it together. Evan stared at the image. Something about it felt wrong, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. What happens if it breaks? He asked. Total collapse, she replied. Stars destabilize. Worlds burn. Evan swallowed. And you want me to… what? Think at it? Valeth hesitated. The bond connects you to the Concord's core logic. You may see patterns we cannot. Evan closed his eyes. He thought of Earth. Of old power grids held together with patches and stubborn engineers. Of humans fixing impossible problems not by understanding everything, but by refusing to quit. He reached out not with his hands, but with his focus. The sensation hit him instantly. He was falling and standing still at the same time. Data flooded his mind, vast and complex. Yet beneath it all was something simple. The root was over-controlled. Too rigid. Too perfect. It's locked, Evan said, his eyes snapping open. You're forcing it to stay stable instead of letting it move. The operators stared at him. That is how stability works, one snapped. No, Evan said. That's how it breaks. Valeth looked at him sharply. Explain. You're treating it like a wall, Evan said. It needs to bend, like a bridge in high wind. She considered this. We do not allow critical systems to bend. Humans do, Evan said. That's how we survive. Valeth turned to her engineers. Reduce constraint parameters. Allow adaptive variance. They hesitated. Now, she commanded. The operators complied. The root flared violently. Alarms spiked. Evan clenched his fists. Not like that. Slowly. Let it breathe. Valeth adjusted the controls herself. The light steadied. The tearing slowed. Then, impossibly, the root began to heal. A wave of shock moved through the chamber. It's stabilizing, someone whispered. Evan sagged. exhaustion crashing into him all at once. Guards moved forward. But Valeth was there first, steadying him with one hand. The contact sent a strange warmth through him. Not power. Trust. You did this, she said quietly. No, Evan replied. We did. She looked at him for a long moment, seeing him not as a symbol or a tool, but as a partner. Beyond the chamber, the Concord's enemies watched their sensors in confusion, as a human mind did what an empire could not, and deep within the living throne, ancient systems adjusted their calculations. Humanity had entered the equation, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Concord did not sleep after that. News of the stabilized star route spread faster than any official announcement. Engineers whispered. Nobles argued. Military commanders watched their tactical maps with new uncertainty. One human had done what centuries of Aurelian knowledge could not. Evan Hale felt the change immediately. As he walked through the palace corridors, conversations stopped. Some of the aliens bowed their heads slightly. Others watched him with open suspicion. A few looked afraid. He did not like any of it. He was still wearing the same simple clothing. Still walking with human steps that echoed too loudly in halls built for giants. Yet now the bond hummed constantly at the back of his mind, a quiet pressure that never fully faded. Valeth walked beside him, silent. You don't look pleased, she said at last. I fixed one problem, Evan replied. Now everyone expects miracles. That is the burden of power, she said. I didn't ask for power, he said. I asked for a way home. Valeth stopped. Evan took 2 more steps before realizing she was no longer beside him. He turned back. She stood very still, her expression unreadable. There may no longer be a way, she said. The words hit harder than any alarm. What do you mean, May? Evan demanded. The bond has rewritten parts of the Concord's core, Valeth replied. And parts of you. Evan laughed once, sharp and humorless. You're telling me I can't go home? Because your empire needed a patch update? Valeth did not react to the tone. I am telling you the truth. Before Evan could respond, a deep vibration rolled through the palace. Not an alarm. Something heavier. He felt it instantly. A pressure behind his eyes. A wrongness in the bond. Enemy action, Evan said. Valeth's head snapped toward him. You felt that before the sensors. Yeah, Evan said. And it's bad. They moved fast. Guards and aides scrambled as the two entered the war chamber. A massive display filled the space, showing the border regions of the Concord. Red markers bloomed like infections. They are inside, a commander said. Multiple breach points, no star route signatures. That's impossible, another replied. They can't move without routes. Evan stared at the display. His mind reached out instinctively, touching the bond. They're not using routes, he said. They're riding the collapse. The chamber went silent. Valeth turned slowly. Explain. When a route fails, it releases energy, Evan said. You see it as disaster. They see it as cover. The realization spread through the room like ice water. They're forcing collapses, Valeth said. Yes, Evan replied. And you taught them how. Her jaw tightened. A sharp voice cut through the tension. Then the human is the problem. Evan turned. A high-ranking noble stepped forward, his markings bright with agitation. The bond destabilizes our systems, the noble continued. Since his arrival, collapses have increased. We should sever it. Sever it. Evan felt the word echo painfully through his chest. Valeth's eyes burned. The bond cannot be severed without killing him. And if he lives, we may all die. The noble snapped. Weapons shifted, hands tightened. Evan raised both palms slowly. I'm not your enemy. Your existence invited ours, the noble replied. The room teetered on the edge of violence. Valeth stepped between them. Enough. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. She turned to Evan. Can you stop this? Evan closed his eyes. He did not know if he could. But he knew what humans did when faced with impossible odds. They tried anyway. The enemy thinks like engineers, Evan said slowly. Cold, efficient. They break things to win. Valeth nodded. And you? We don't just fix systems, Evan said. We adapt. We improvise. We trick problems into solving themselves. He looked up. I need access. Full access. The chamber erupted. That is forbidden. He could rewrite the throne. It risks total collapse. Valeth lifted one hand. Silence returned. You will have it, she said. The noble stared at her. Empress, I said, Valeth repeated. He will have it. She met Evan's gaze. Do not make me regret this. I won't, Evan said. But you might. They descended into the heart of the Concorde. The core was not a machine. It was a living structure of energy and thought, grown around a star-sized intelligence. Light flowed like blood through vast channels. The air vibrated with power so intense, it made Evan's teeth ache. This is the throne, Valeth said. Few have ever stood here. Evan stepped forward, his instincts screaming. The bond surged, pulling at him. He placed one hand against the core. The universe exploded inside his mind. He saw the Concorde as a whole. Its strengths, its weaknesses, its fear of change, its rigid perfection that had once been greatness and had now become a flaw. The enemy appeared as shadows in the data, exploiting predictability. Evan smiled grimly. Found it, he whispered. What do you see? Valeth asked, her voice distant. A system that's afraid to break, Evan replied. And that's why it's losing. He reached deeper. He did not try to control the core. He taught it how to fail safely. Across the Concorde, star routes shifted. Not collapsing. Moving. Flexing. Becoming unpredictable. Enemy ships emerged from false exits, stranded in open space. Fleets miscalculated jumps and found themselves nowhere. Alarms rang across enemy command networks. What is happening? This is impossible. Evan staggered, blood trickling from his nose. The noble's voice echoed from above. He's destroying us. No, Valeth said softly, watching the data stabilize. He's saving us. Evan pulled his hand back and collapsed to his knees. The bond burned, then settled into something new. Not a chain, a bridge. The Concorde breathed. The enemy reeled, and for the first time since the war began, the galaxy bent to human logic. Got it. Here is part 3, written exactly as you asked. Third person, simple basic English, violation-free, no short headings, and kept interesting from start to end. The Concorde did not sleep after that. News of the stabilized star route spread faster than any official announcement. Engineers whispered in private chambers. Nobles argued behind closed doors. Military commanders stared at their tactical displays, unsure whether to feel relief or fear. One human had done what centuries of Aurelian knowledge had failed to do. Evan Hale felt the change immediately. As he walked through the palace corridors, conversations stopped. Some aliens lowered their heads slightly in respect. Others watched him with open suspicion. A few stared as if he were something dangerous that might explode at any moment. He did not like any of it. He was still wearing simple clothing. He still walked with human steps that sounded too loud in halls built for taller beings. But the bond now hummed constantly at the back of his mind, a quiet pressure that never truly faded. Valeth walked beside him, silent for a long time. You do not look pleased, she finally said. I fixed one problem, Evan replied. Now everyone expects miracles. That is how power works, Valeth said calmly. I didn't ask for power, Evan said. I asked for a way home. Valeth stopped walking. Evan took 2 more steps before realizing she was no longer beside him. He turned back. She stood still, her expression carefully controlled. There may no longer be a way, she said. The words hit him harder than any physical blow. What do you mean, may? Evan demanded. The bond has changed the Concorde's core systems, Valeth said. And it has changed you. Evan let out a short, bitter laugh. So, I'm trapped because your empire needed an emergency fix? I am telling you the truth, she replied. Not an excuse. Before Evan could answer, a deep vibration rolled through the palace. It was not an alarm, but it felt worse. Heavy. Wrong. Evan froze. He felt it instantly. Pressure behind his eyes. A sudden disturbance in the bond. Enemy action. Evan said. Valeth turned sharply. You felt that before the sensors. Yeah, Evan said. And it's bad. They moved quickly into the war chamber. Officers and nobles filled the space, their voices tense. A massive display showed the outer regions of the Concord. Red markers appeared across the map like spreading wounds. They are inside our territory, a commander said. Multiple points. No star route traces. That cannot be, another officer replied. They cannot move without star routes. Evan stared at the display, his mind already reaching through the bond. They aren't using the routes, he said. They're riding the collapse. Silence fell. Valeth turned toward him slowly. Explain. When a route fails, it releases energy, Evan said. You see it as destruction. They see it as cover. Understanding spread across the room, sharp and cold. They are forcing collapses, Valeth said quietly. Yes, Evan replied. And you taught them how. Her jaw tightened, but she did not deny it. A noble stepped forward, his markings glowing brightly with anger. Then, the human is the problem. Evan turned to face him. Since his arrival, instability has increased, the noble continued. The bond is corrupting our systems. We must sever it. The word echoed painfully in Evan's chest. Valeth's eyes flashed. The bond cannot be severed without killing him, and if he lives, we may all die. The noble shot back. Weapons shifted slightly. Tension filled the room. Evan raised both hands slowly. I'm not your enemy. Your existence invited ours, the noble replied. The room balanced on the edge of violence. Valeth stepped forward. Her voice cut through the tension. Enough. She turned to Evan. Can you stop this? Evan closed his eyes. He did not know if he could. But he knew what humans did when faced with impossible odds. They tried anyway. The enemy thinks like machines, Evan said. Cold. Efficient. Predictable. Valeth listened carefully. Humans don't win by being perfect, Evan continued. We win by adapting. By breaking our own rules before the enemy can. He looked at her. I need full access. Gasps filled the chamber. That is forbidden. He could rewrite the throne. It risks total collapse. Valeth raised one hand. Silence returned. You will give it to him, she said. A noble protested, but Valeth did not turn. Do not make me regret this, she said to Evan. I won't, Evan replied. But this will scare you. They descended deep beneath the palace into the heart of the Concord. The core was not a machine. It was alive. Energy flowed through vast structures like blood through veins. Thought and power existed together, humming with ancient intelligence. The air itself felt heavy. This is the throne, Valeth said. Few have ever stood here. Evan stepped forward. The bond surged violently. He placed one hand on the core. The universe exploded inside his mind. He saw the Concord as a whole. Its beauty, its strength, its fear of change, its rigid perfection that once made it great and now made it weak. He saw the enemy exploiting predictability. Evan smiled grimly. I see the problem, he whispered. What do you see? Valeth asked. A system afraid to fail, Evan said. That's why it's losing. He reached deeper, not to control the core, but to teach it something new, how to bend without breaking. Across the Concord, star routes shifted. Not collapsing. Moving. Flexing. Becoming unpredictable. Enemy ships emerged into empty space. Fleets misjudged jumps and scattered. Their perfect calculations failed against human chaos. Evan staggered, blood running from his nose. He's destroying us, the noble shouted. No, Valeth said softly, watching the system stabilize. He's saving us. Evan collapsed to his knees as the bond settled into something new. Not a chain, a bridge. The Concord survived, the enemy faltered, and the galaxy began to learn a dangerous truth. Humanity did not conquer by force. It rewrote the rules. The war did not end in a single moment, but it changed direction. Across the Concord, enemy fleets found themselves lost, scattered, and confused. Their calculations no longer worked. Star routes shifted without warning, bending like living things. Systems that once followed perfect rules now behaved with controlled chaos. The enemy had prepared for an empire. They had not prepared for a human. Evan Hale spent 3 days unconscious after touching the core. He dreamed of Earth, not grand cities or heroic moments. He dreamed of small things. The hum of old machines. Coffee cooling on a workbench. Engineers arguing. Fixing problems with half-broken tools. And stubborn hope. When he finally opened his eyes, soft light filled the room. He lay on a low platform, surrounded by curved walls that glowed faintly. The bond felt different now. Quieter. Stable. Valeth stood nearby. She did not speak at first. She watched him, as if making sure he was truly awake. "You're staring," Evan said weakly. Her lips curved slightly. "You returned. Guess I wasn't done causing trouble," he replied. She moved closer. "You altered the throne. Permanently," Evan sighed. "Yeah. Sorry about that. You saved the Concorde," she said. "And you terrified it." "That sounds about right." She studied him closely. "You could have taken control. The core offered it." Evan looked away. "I don't want to rule anyone." "Why?" she asked. "Because humans learned something early," Evan replied. Valeth absorbed that in silence. Outside the chamber, the War Council waited. When Evan entered the council hall later that day, the reaction was immediate. Conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward him. He did not wear armor. He did not carry weapons. He walked in simple clothing, human and unremarkable. And yet, the room felt smaller around him. "The enemy fleets are retreating," a commander reported. "They cannot adapt fast enough. They will regroup," a noble warned. "They always do." Evan raised a hand slightly. "They won't." The council turned toward him. "They built their strength on certainty," Evan said. "Perfect systems, perfect plans. We took that away." "Too." Valeth watched him carefully. "And when they change, they'll hesitate," Evan replied. "And hesitation is where humans win." A noble leaned forward. "What do you suggest?" Evan took a slow breath. "We stop trying to be perfect. We let people think. Let systems learn. Let mistakes happen without destroying everything." The room filled with uneasy murmurs. "That is not how the Concorde has ever functioned," someone said. "No," Evan agreed. "That's why it almost died." Valeth stood. "The human speaks with the authority of results," she said. "The conquered will adapt." No one challenged her. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy shifted. Star routes became flexible instead of rigid. Command structures allowed local decisions instead of absolute control. Engineers were encouraged to experiment, not just obey. Mistakes happened, and the Concorde grew stronger because of them. The enemy made one final attempt. A massive fleet appeared at the edge of conquered space, moving slowly, cautiously. They broadcast a demand for surrender. The council gathered again. "We can crush them," a commander said. Evan shook his head. "No." Valeth looked at him. "Explain." "They're waiting for us to act like we always have," Evan said. "Strong, predictable, proud." "And you propose?" she asked. Evan smiled faintly. "We confuse them." The Concorde fleet moved forward, then stopped, then retreated, then split into uneven groups, each behaving differently. Some ships powered down completely. Others flooded sensors with noise. A few sent false signals deep into empty space. The enemy hesitated. That hesitation turned into doubt. Doubt turned into retreat. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a slow, uncertain withdrawal. The enemy never returned. Celebrations filled the Concorde worlds. Lights filled the skies. Music echoed through cities that had known fear for generations. Evan watched it all from a quiet balcony. "I should feel victorious," he said. Valeth joined him. "And you do not?" "I feel done," Evan replied. She was silent for a long time. "The Concorde still needs you," she said finally. "No," Evan said gently. "It needs what I started, not me." She turned toward him sharply. "You cannot leave." "Watch me," Evan said. "The bond is stable," Evan finished. "You don't need me tied to it anymore." Valeth's voice lowered. "And us?" Evan met her gaze. That part was never forced. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Earth is still out there, Evan said. My people are still small, still struggling, still stubborn. You will return to them? She asked. Yes, Valeth nodded slowly. Then, the Concord will remember you. The throne opened a path no one had ever used before. Not a star route. Something simpler. Something human. A door. When Evan stepped through, he felt the bond loosen. Not breaking, but resting. He returned to Earth without fanfare. No parades, no medals. Just a quiet return to orbit. Then ground. Then work. The galaxy did not forget him. The Concord changed forever. And across the stars, a new truth spread quietly among ancient civilizations. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the smartest. But when the universe stopped making sense, humanity adapted. And that made them unstoppable.